What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you my first impressions of Days Gone. So if you're new to the channel, I like to review games after 100%. That takes a while, so I usually drop a first impressions video anytime that I start a new title. That said, Days Gone has been in the proverbial headlines here lately for a bit of drama around how many units of it were sold, which truthfully I'm not super interested in. However, the game itself started its life as a PlayStation exclusive back in, I believe it was 2019, before being ported to Steam later on, which is the version I'm playing. And some details have come out since then, such as the sequel for the game was ultimately rejected and there's likely to never be another one, despite what many people would claim to be strong sales numbers, at least in the realm of a few million, though the exact number is up for debate. That said, I just mentioned all of that because, again, it's been in the gaming news lately, and I kind of wanted to mention it here that I am aware of those things. And ultimately, the game itself has seemingly had a bit of a contentious life, so I think that's important to note. But in this game, we play the role of Deacon St. John in what is a sort of post-apocalyptic zombie fantasy, which isn't the most original setting in the world. However, first impression-wise, what did surprise me a little bit is that there's not a ton of emphasis on the zombies themselves, or the freaks as they like to call them. Because going into what I assumed was a zombie game, I was surprised that a lot of the focus is on the human interaction of the people that are left and the lives they left behind. And so far, that's what a lot of the missions have focused on. And while yes, there are zombies, obviously, they're the main enemy, they almost seem like more of the backdrop than the focus. And coming off of Dying Light recently, that's quite a tonal shift for me. Now that said, we do play the set protagonist of Deacon St. John, and ultimately the story of Days Gone seems to heavily revolve around him. Now I have heard some things about the writing later, which I'm looking forward to getting in. However, at the beginning of the game, probably about 5 or 6 hours in at the time of this video, the initial setup seems to primarily revolve around Deacon's lost wife, who kind of, apparently, might have possibly passed away at the beginning of the game. And while I know the writing later on in the game might be questionable, at least the setup here is very strong. I like it. It's pretty well done. And while generally speaking, I'm not a favor of a set protagonist, they are very clearly trying to tell a very specific story about Deacon. And I've enjoyed how they've portrayed his emotional struggle through the last couple years, or Days Gone. Also, you get to ride around on a motorcycle / dirt bike, and so far that's been a lot of fun actually. It's pretty customizable, which has been fun for me to kind of mess around with a little bit. This is a long time ago, but I used to ride dirt bikes as like a much younger person with a couple of friends of mine down the road. So it's kind of been cool to see that in an actual game that wasn't like a weird version of a platformer. And as you might imagine, a lot of the gameplay revolves around your motorcycle, as in this particular game world, most people are using motorcycles or dirt bikes to get around these days, at least inside of the quarantine zone, which brings me to my next point. It seems to be a little vague in general, but I'm not sure how much of the world is post-apocalypse, because the area you're in is often referred to as the quarantine zone here and there. And then there's this organization called Nero out and about, who are using helicopters and things. And while, yes, I obviously could look it up, the game's been out a while, I'm trying to avoid doing so. So I'm kind of curious to learn more about how much of the world is actually dealing with this virus-turned zombie outbreak, because again, the area you're in is referred to as the quarantine zone, which would imply there's a non-quarantine zone as well. But a few other just random little bits and bobs here. I have been ambushed like 4 times in the first couple hours, which has been annoying but also kind of hilarious. So you get ambushed once as part of like the prologue tutorial mission. It's like meant to happen, it's scripted or whatever. And then just riding around the forest where you start the game at, I've been ambushed on the road several times by marauders, as they call them. It's kind of hilarious. They'll set traps on the road for you, so you'll get like clotheslined off your bike, or a sniper will shoot out the engine of your bike, and then you're getting attacked. And this ultimately leads to you clearing out the ambush camps around that section of the map, which then reveals more of the map, and then you can like get your collectibles that way. Ambush camps kind of serve as the proverbial Ubisoft tower in this particular game, so different flavor of the same kind of mechanic. Apparently, clearing out these ambush camps keeps you from getting ambushed on the road constantly, which happened so many times in the first couple hours. I was like, if I get ambushed one more time, this is ridiculous. And then just to end it on this, the combat in-game is like it's okay. I like that you can kind of craft stuff on the fly in the middle of combat, like just for a little bit of variety, you know, but early game, the combat is very just okay. Now, it's my understanding you get to fight hordes of zombies later, so my opinion on that particular thing might change a bit. But in the beginning, where you're just up against humans and the occasional group of a few freaks or zombies, it's just kind of okay. And the very, very last thing I want to mention is that this game is gorgeous and it runs very, very well. Hardly any loading screens at all. My FPS has stayed consistently incredibly high. And just playing the game is a very smooth experience so far. Anything more than that, I will save it for the review, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. May you wander in wisdom, and have an amazing day.